All right, continuing on with my series on the GS4. In this case, 1260-301, the first run GS4s that came out in 2006, 2007. There was a spacer kit that came out for these things for the first half. The second half came factory installed. These were 07-2008. There were 4 in a package. They're getting increasingly hard to come by. I had 3 used ones that I pulled out of various things. This is how they'd come, only flat. They'd be in this little green or envelope that had a green piece of paper in it. Okay, so I'm redrivering this guy also because let's see if I can find one here. These plastic sleeves on here crack. Like this will not hold a I can turn it. I don't know if you can really see here, but so he got redrivered because, especially this geared one right here, it doesn't hold quarter. So anyways, I put a new set of revised drivers in here that don't have the plastic sleeve. This was a design that they started using on the FEF3, although these won't fit the FEF3. These are backwards compatible to a degree. So what you need to do when you get a unit either with the factory spacers for the second half or these ones, you need to cut a little notch here to fit around there so everything fits correctly, because once you get this last driver in here, you also have to throw a small shim in there to keep the bearings from falling back in on each other at an angle. When I get this back together, I'll shoot some video of that. But basically what you can use all sorts of different things for spacers, but I found, I don't even know if I can find on my workbench right now, the best piece I found was actually a swizzle stick that's been cut down and excuse me. So, but basically, going back to part 2 of the video, what this does is when that wheel and this wheel is in here, it keeps this from being able to short out against the upper frame, both here and here. So, and like I said, Kato's out of these. So if you've got a package of these and they have not been installed, or you've got some that are floating around and you want to get rid of them, let me know. Because there's enough in each package to do 2 units, but most people just, jammed them in there and only used one. So, I don't know. All right, and that's with the spacer installed on both sides. And because these are used ones that I pulled from my junk box, basically used parts are better than no parts. They went down a little bit harder, took a little longer to work in because they were kind of curled up, but now that they're in place, they'll be fine. So I found a piece of swizzle stick. And what I'll do is I'll cut a small piece off and I'll slice it down to the appropriate length, and we'll install him. All right, and then so basically, like I said, just took a small section of the swizzle stick, slid it down the center. Wish I would have flipped that piece up, but what it does is it keeps these 2 bearings from folding in on themselves. You don't have to worry about in the other locations, but the rear one, because it's floating, it needs to bounce up and down. And then obviously I'm making sure it's not, catching on the modified shims on there. And so now what I'll do is, before I button all this up, I'll throw a drop of oil on each of these and button this all back up. I'll test this on DC before I convert it to DCC, but that should be essentially done for redrivering, putting on a set of spacers, and putting on a shim to keep that rear axle bearings from folding in. So there's 2 little springs under here, so you want to make sure that you can push up and down on this and it moves freely. So there we go.